morning, everybody. Whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world, here is Coast to Coast. I am here with McLovin, and of course, Pags is out playing at the ballpark today, and I'm sure he'll pop through. And of course, we have a good guest for our second hour, Kory Curtis, former Ohio State and Gannon University quarterback. He's going to be playing in the new upstart of the AFL. So we get to chat with him a little bit. The second hour should be fun. How you doing, Jay?
Yeah, I'm doing well, man. I'm really looking forward to speaking with our guest and hearing what he has to say. Real quick, just a quick shout out for you guys on Northeast Streaming Sports, as well as Elite Sports and Entertainment Network. Two new shows are going to be debuting on their Roku. One, I think, is called Truth Be Told Sports Podcast, and the other one, I believe, is called The Original Podcast. Both of them are barbershop style. I think you're going to enjoy them, and so they'll be coming up on Roku pretty soon.
Hell yeah. You know what time slot they're going to be in?
I don't know for sure the Original Podcast, what they're doing, because I think they're still talking with them. But I know Truth Be Told will be on Tuesdays from 3 to 5. Matter of fact, they were on yesterday from 3 to 5. So Roku, okay. 3 to 5. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. That's awesome.
And but yeah, man, how about this stuff going on today, man? Is it crazy? It's already got off to a wild start.
It's been a busy week in the NFL. And of course, we're starting to look forward to the draft coming up next month. So free agency's popping off. I'm still surprised that you guys just really aren't doing anything.
That's not true. I just heard this morning, stat guy. This guy wakes up at like a crow's roost. I mean, I don't know. He's crazy. But literally, he texted me this morning and said the Cowboys are in talks with A.J. Dillon.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I get it because he's a big back, and I think that's what they're looking for, right? That's what they wanted in Derrick Henry, I think, initially, was that big, thunderous back to complement Vaughn and Dwiddle. But I don't know, Ben. I'm excited about it. I mean, I'd have been excited about Henry. I don't know if I'm excited about A.J. Dillon.
So is that that's all in? Is that what that means? All in is A.J. Dillon?
I guess so. But and we really talked about this, right? We talked about the caps and what all of our teams were looking at, and we knew that Cowboys were 19 million over, and then they readjusted the cap. And now we're like 9 or 8 million over. So how far can we really go in? Well, especially when you still got to secure Dak Prescott. I mean, how far can we really go in? So I don't know what Jerry was thinking when he said we're going to go all in, because how far can you really go, Jerry?
Well, it's like when you're playing cards, you're like, I'm all in. It's like, yeah, you have $20, man. Like, come on, you got $20. Like, all in sounds different if you have a stack versus 2 chips, right? So
it's like like your last down to your last $5. You say I'm all in. Everybody else has got a big, huge pile of that.
Yeah, exactly. All of a sudden, you're like, I'm all in, and you shove it forward dramatically, and you're like, the one chip rolls to the center. You're like, oh, okay, yeah. I mean, that doesn't actually mean anything, but cool, good on you.
Like, that's our tip. Put that off to the side.
Right. You might as well toss it to the dealer and call it a day. Yeah, no, it's that's kind of what it is. I mean, I haven't seen anything that Dallas has done that makes me feel like you're even going to be as good as you were last year.
Right. And they're still trying to find, I believe they're still trying to find a home for Michael Gallup, to move his $13 million or $10 million, whatever he is on the cap. They're trying to move him. They're trying to trade him somewhere. And nobody's taking, nobody's asking.
So I guess the one thing I don't know, because I hadn't looked, what do you guys have as far as draft capital? Do you have anything there?
No, we have a first rounder, number 24. I don't know what all our seconds and thirds. I don't think we have too much in the way of that. I just know our one, I guess you call it significant pickup, will be at number 24. And I don't know what they're planning on doing. I mean, truthfully, we really just need a damn running back. Our defense is still good. I mean, right? We didn't really lose anything on defense. We didn't lose anything. We didn't lose anything per se, really, other than we lost Pollard.
Well, I mean, you're still gonna lose some stuff though, because I mean, they're gonna have to. They're gonna have to lose some guys. Because as it sits today, I think you're still over the cap, aren't you?
Yeah, and that's why I think they're really trying to move Gallup. I think Gallup could take that cap number down a good chunk. He won't get all of it out of there, but he'll take it down a little bit. So they definitely got to move Gallup. He's number 1. I don't know where they're going to go after that. I don't know. I mean, who are they really willing to let go of? Are they gonna, I mean, Gilmore, I guess Stephon Gilmore, I'm assuming they've already let go of him. I don't know if he's still on their books or not.
I
Trey Diggs,
thought,
they're not going to let go of Trey Diggs. He's too important to that secondary.
yeah, no, there's no way. No, I mean, there's going to be a couple of forced moves, I think. It's something similar that,
Cooper Rush they may have to just say goodbye to Cooper. Even, I hate saying that because I really love Cooper Rush. Honestly, I think Cooper Rush is good enough that he can start for some of these other teams. I really do. I believe if they put more investment in him, because you saw last year when he started for the Cowboys, or not start, when he was starting for the Cowboys when Dak was down, he won like 6 games for those guys. I mean, this guy has talent.
Yeah, no, I think he ultimately ends up the same way that Drew Lock did for Seattle. Is he played well enough that you're not going to be able to afford him, just like Seattle wasn't able to keep Drew Lock.
I agree.
It's going to be one of those that he played well enough that he's going to make more money to go somewhere else. And then, I mean, I guess on the plus side, you can see what they have in Trey Lance, right? I mean, you picked him up for a pack of bubble gum, and then he didn't suit up half the time. So if you let Cooper Rush go, you can see if you have anything in Trey Lance, or if he just really wasn't that dude. If I'm
the Cowboys at spring training, I'm going to play the hell out of Trey Lance. I really want to get to know this guy, give him reps, and see what I actually have in this guy. Don't just give him some garbage reps. Give him a bulk of the damn spring training and see what you got.
Well, yeah, I mean, you already know what Dak is, right? If you end up having to get rid of Cooper Rush, like, you need to know if he can even survive the preseason, right? Because, I mean, that's the biggest thing with Trey Lance is he hasn't been able to stay healthy. So, let alone complete passes. But, at the end of the day, it's hard to get in any kind of rhythm if you're not on the field very often. So, if you're constantly hurt, tough to do anything. But Dallas still has a pretty solid offensive line. And, maybe he can stay upright. And if that's the case, then I'm curious to see if they can get his game to evolve. Because with everything that the Niners did to go get him, right? They gave up the farm, 3 number 1s, all of that, right? So if you guys pick him up for what, you got him for a 6th or something. So if he can turn into just a feasible backup, that's a win. So
yeah, like for example, so I'm just looking at their defense. Just take their defense for example. Apparently, Gilmore is still on the roster, so I would definitely let go of Stephon Gilmore. Right? I mean, he's an older guy. I think you can clear some of that money off the books. I don't know if he really even accounts for a whole lot, but I would definitely get rid of Gilmore and let Jordan Lewis take his spot. Maybe look at getting rid of Malik Hooker and one of the other. I mean, because they got a boatload of safeties. They got like 4 or 5 different safeties. I mean, they got some pieces that they can move around. And if you look at their wide receivers, I mean, maybe you're gonna have to get rid of Brandon Cooks and get rid of who am I thinking of? Help me out here. God, what did my brain just go? Well, no, maybe they already got rid of him because I don't even see him on here anymore. Golly, what the guy I was thinking of? Gallup. Jesus.
Oh,
my brain literally went dry. But Brandon Cooks and Gallup, right? Brandon Cooks has a little bit of money. So you could get rid of those 2 guys and then bring up Tolbert and Turpin to take their spots. I mean, you're going to have to ride with some lesser ones and have CD and then have Ferguson be your top guys and then ride with some of these other guys, and
I mean,
you're going to have to make it work.
You're going to need some of those guys to step up into that role because you're not going to you don't get to run back what you had.
Right.
And so,
this is where Tolbert, he's been looking to shine. They've been talking about letting this guy shine. He's got great speed. So this is where Tolbert needs to come up and look. We're going to let go of Brandon Cooks. We're going to let go of Gallup, which really, truthfully, last year, they really didn't do a whole hell of a lot for us anyway. They were kind of almost non-existent. So just let that money go off the books. Bring this guy Tolbert, and let him finally make a name for himself. And then we'll have to worry about paying him later if he does, So
yeah.
But I mean, they got people that they can let go and still keep this team competitive. Honestly, they can keep it competitive, but they're gonna have to, like you said, they're gonna have to let go and take that draft and do the best you can with it to fill some of the holes.
No, I mean,
And then
it's
pray
funny
that
because
AJ Dillon don't mess it up.
when you look at like my Seahawks, they've basically let everybody go.
Yeah.
They haven't acquired anybody, but they let go 2 tight ends. They did sign Noah Fant, right? But they let Parkinson go. They let Disley go.
Right.
They get rid of 2 safeties, Jamal Adams, which that had to happen. Cap hit, not healthy, totally makes sense.
Right.
But Quandre Diggs, they let go.
Yeah, that was a
multiple-time Pro Bowler. Now that's a cap casualty because he was expensive, but he's a good safety. And then you basically got rid of all of your linebackers, right? So all of a sudden, if you were in the defensive locker room, right, you're looking at Leonard Williams, which they did sign. And then you're what? You got Love at safety, and then you have a couple of corners. And that's your entire locker room at the moment. It's like, oh man, we went from not having any cap space to having a ton of cap space because we don't have any players on the roster.
right.
So it's going to be interesting to see the direction they go. But instead of what looked like they were going to make some tweaks, now it looks like they're in full on rebuild mode.
And here's the thing too. This is the part that really gets me about Dallas. Not Dallas, but Dak. Let's just say Dak. Let's call it what it is.
Okay.
You got Patrick Mahomes over there.
Should I get some popcorn for this?
Oh, you need a lot of popcorn for this one because it really does make me upset because I'm looking at like guys like Tom Brady, guys like Patrick Mahomes who are athletes, right? Phenomenal athletes. And they're getting Super Bowl wins, and they're taking these big pay cuts so they can continuously help the team to get more wins. And then I got people like Dak Prescott, who won't take a damn pay cut to save his life, and yet he still isn't even really truly contributed in the way these other guys are contributing to help their damn team. It's like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
You ain't doing shit for this team, and yet you're going to take all the money.
Yeah, I mean, so the thing is for Dak, where it doesn't make sense to me, right, is the guys that take all the money but aren't winning championships, are kind of like not getting to the playoffs consistently, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Those guys I kind of get. Take all the money because you're not getting the off the field money, right? But when you see guys like Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, now all of a sudden they're making, $30 million a year in endorsements off the field. Well, that allows you to take a little bit less money on the field because you don't necessarily need it, right? Like you got those endorsements to supplement. And this is where Dak comes in, right? He's on the most notable brand, as far as football teams, one of the most notable brands in the world, right? And so this is a situation where he's on a ton of endorsements, right? Like every commercial during a game, he's in one of them. So at that point, go ahead and take a little bit less, right? Like, I mean, you're a Dallas quarterback. You're probably going to end up in the booth after your career is done anyway. That just seems to be the natural flow of things as you end up on ESPN anyway. Right. So why not take a little bit less in contract and get the pieces that you need to finally get over the hump? Because being a first round exit, sometimes a second round exit is, it's not great. And it doesn't help your brand either.
Yeah. And you know what? Here's the thing, Dak. You want more money? Freaking win. Just win. Seriously. Because if Patrick Mahomes, if he wasn't winning, if he wasn't doing the things that Patrick Mahomes does, he wouldn't be in all these damn State Farm commercials. Nobody wants a loser for State Farm. It's a State freaking farm.
Well, and that's actually almost got it. No, almost got it. But no, but that's exactly my point, is that he's playing for a brand that you don't even necessarily have to win to get those same opportunities, right? Because Jerry Jones, if he does anything else, is a master marketer of his team, right? So a lot of those players end up, just because they're on the Cowboys, with more opportunities when it comes to endorsement deals. So in this scenario, maybe take a little bit less. And again, don't get me wrong, I don't want to speak on anybody else's money, but if you want to win, like if you want hardware, take a little bit less money so that they can pay other dudes so you can be competitive, not just in the regular season. There's plenty of regular season winners that don't really have a shot in the postseason. And that, by and large, has been the Cowboys at this point. They'll do great in the regular season,
absolutely,
and then they fall apart.
I would just love for Jerry Jones to go down there to Dak and say, you know what, Dak, you're not willing to take a pay cut. You suck. Get out of here. See you later.
You can't even do that.
I would love that. It ain't gonna happen. Okay, I get it.
I mean, you can't. You can't because of what his cap hit's gonna be. Because
I know
Jerry's not
gonna look like I got you by the balls, Jerry.
That's exactly right. There's no way he's gonna do what Denver just did to Russ. There's
no way. He wouldn't do that. And I wouldn't tell him to do that either, because I don't want to take that much dead money. I'd rather see what kind of production I get versus taking dead money. I mean,
well,
honestly.
and that's the thing, is as much as I clown on Dak, he has been productive, right?
So, he's like Tony Romo. Tony Romo's productive too. The problem with both of those quarterbacks,
they're literally the same guy.
Thank you. Because literally great in the regular season.
Yeah.
You put those fuckers in the postseason, and I guarantee you somebody's not going to hold the ball right when the field goal is on the line.
You know, it was such a fun game to be at.
But they do. They screw themselves over every time in the playoffs. Just dumb mistakes, whatever. They just can't handle the biggest stage.
No, they routinely come up short in those scenarios. Morning. Yeah, no, it's interesting. I was expecting to see a little more movement, not necessarily acquisition wise, but I was expecting to see a little more selling than we have. Just because, you're going to have to, right? So the fact that they haven't been that busy in the early stages of free agency here. And of course it's Wednesday, right? So now people can actually sign people, right? We were in that legal tampering time, but now all the contracts that they say have happened can actually get signatures on them. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting, because the last thing you want to do is show up late to the party, because all of a sudden it's going to be harder to move some of these guys. And the last thing you want to do is not get any compensation for them and just have to cut people.
And let me ask you a question too. Let me get your thought on this, because this has been my thought. As everybody's salaries continuously go up in these, let's be honest. Back in the day, $20-30 million on a 6-year deal for, people was a lot of money back in those. Now,
sure.
Our contracts are they're hundreds of millions, right? Yeah. We're no longer in the, 70-80 million for a contract. Now we're in the hundreds of millions for a contract. Everybody's getting that kind of quan. And my thing about it is, with everybody so expensive these days, how in the hell is $255 million really a realistic cap to field competitive teams?
Well, no, that's the thing, is it's a hard cap. So you get competitive teams because you can't build a super team, right?
Well, I don't know. It seems like they are, and maybe it's. I say that, and I don't really think because the Chiefs are doing it right. Maybe it's just, and I think what you're getting at is
that comes to personnel. That comes to personnel taking less
better contracts from Dallas. And I'm really speaking on Dallas' side of it, right? Gary did terrible with when he gave the money to Cooper, and then he gave the money to Dak, and then he gave the money to Ezek. Those 3 contracts really, really hurt the Cowboys bad.
Well, the teams that you see in there, sup Dustin, that are routinely there, right? When you look at their personnel, it's because they weren't seeking the biggest contract they could get. When you look at Dallas, they like that shiny toy. They want that splash player. So they're going to drop a grip on a few guys. And the problem is that's fine sort of in the regular season. But then when you get to the postseason, everybody's good, right? The regular season works because you have those teams that, they're either in cap trouble or they got a bunch of rookies or whatever. There's always those teams that are just not going to perform great, or they're just, systemically a nightmare, like the Bears have been as of late, the Browns through their entire existence. So so you have those teams that, produce wins for you. But when you get into the playoffs, all the teams are good, right? So if you have a couple of high dollar guys, but you have obvious holes because you have high dollar guys, you lose, right?
Right.
So when you look at teams that have been consistently in the mix, right?
Right.
When you look at KC, who has, they're a perennial team. Well, yeah, because Mahomes' deal is actually relatively team friendly, right? They don't
Right.
have anybody on their roster that's the most expensive guy out there. So they get to have a little more well-rounded team. And, that's the biggest difference, because with the hard cap, at the end of the day, you can spend that money however you want. So
Right.
you can have a few star players that have, flash value to them, or you can build a well-rounded team. So like when you look at this year with KC, they ended up with a much better defense than they've had the entire time that Mahomes was there. And it was a good thing because their offense had taken a big step back.
Yeah. And I think that's just, I think with Dallas, and I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's just the way that Jerry does things and the way the team does things. And I don't think it's going to change for that organization until ownership changes. I mean, really, I think we're just going to look at the same type of thing until ownership changes. And I don't, that of course, that's never going to happen. I don't think in my lifetime, I don't think it'll ever happen. Right. But honestly, I think the only thing that can get Dallas right is ownership change, or unless Stephen Jones could just be a different person.
That's the biggest thing, is you need to know what Stephen Jones is going to be, because if it's more of the same, then yeah, obviously you need an ownership change. If he is a different dude because he's watched this throughout the, course of time here, then you don't necessarily need an ownership change. You just need a philosophy change.
Well, that's true.
Which, if he comes in and has a philosophy change, then, maybe it works. But at the same time, what Jerry Jones does makes them a lot of money. And, they don't necessarily, as much as he likes to talk about, we want rings and all of this, his actions don't show that. His actions show that they want cameras at all times. So, and what he's built has done exactly that and made it the most expensive franchise.
I mean, because seriously, if this league if he got a trophy for who generated the most money as a franchise, the Cowboys will win that every year.
100%.
But that's not the way it goes. You have to win.
Yeah. And Dustin's right. Like, this is same thing over and over and over. Yep. I mean, and they have. For
literally
almost 30 years.
Have.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see if it changes when, Jerry Jones steps down, or however that works. But as it sits right now, I don't see a path where you get better for this next season.
No, I don't. Honestly, I don't either. And that's why I just tend to look at the Astros and just focus my happiness there. Every time I try to focus on the Cowboys, and everybody, Jay, aren't you getting excited? I said, no, I'm not, because I know what's going to happen, and I'm not going to let myself eat that much humble pie. Look, I got a belly because I ate too much humble pie.
Yeah,
amongst other things, but mostly the humble pie. But and I'm just tired of eating humble pie with those guys. Look, they're my team forever in a day, but there's only so much humble pie you can eat.
No, I mean, there is that.
This is Jerry Jones you're right. As his son takes over.
No, he won't.
Yeah. It'll be, what it'll be like? Like, even though WWE, even Vince McMahon stepped down, he didn't really step down. He's still in WWE. He just doesn't have that quote unquote title, or he's not sitting in the chair, but he's at home and he's pulling look, everything can be telework now.
I think maybe this last time around he might be done.
I mean, he might be. I don't know. I still think he's teleworking some kind of way.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the lawsuit's probably put an end to that.
You know what they do? You know what it is now is there's a runner. It's like the mafia. There's like a runner between Vince McMahon and the current CEO of WWE, and he just,
yeah,
they know
he might have his puppet out there. That's for sure.
Yeah, remember Paulie from Goodfellas? He's like Paulie. He just sits on the doorstep, and people just know what to do.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you guys are going to do. I mean, it's the Eagles look like they're getting better. I was hoping Pags was going to be here for this, but because
they got some finals.
Well, and they are taking a look at Bobby Wagner, right? They were talking about needing, or he was talking about needing linebackers, and nobody's picked up Bobby Wagner yet. And it sounds like the Eagles are taking a look at him, and he would be a good fit there.
And I think you're not gonna have to pay all that much money for him because nobody else is really making offers. So I think you can get him at a pretty good price, honestly.
Yeah, I think you could get him for probably $8 million.
I think you get him at a good price, honestly.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. I think you could get him for $8 million for a guy that was leading the league in tackles last year.
Oh, and who else they got? They got Garner Johnson on there now too.
They did, yeah. They just signed him. So
that, if he can stay healthy, that's huge in that secondary, especially when Slay went down with injury. That just really gives a little reinforcement to that secondary.
Well, and I think they lose Slay is the thing.
Yeah. And that's fine because if Garner Johnson can stay healthy, that's still a pretty big upside in that secondary.
Absolutely.
What a time to be alive, man. Jeez. I wish they could do something like that over in Dallas. Dallas, damn. I honestly think the Eagles could take the division this year. I think Dallas slides down to the wild card. I just have this feeling. I just have this feeling in my bones that I feel like Dallas is going to be the wild card. I don't know how you're looking at this, but that's what I feel.
I would put money on the Eagles winning the division this year. Dallas, honestly, that's going to be a close wild card bid.
Right.
They could, based on what you'll probably end up having to do, they could easily be the 7th seed.
Yeah. So, I saw too where the Steelers, of course, the Steelers have been active in free agency. I saw where they let go or they traded. I guess they traded. I don't know if they traded him or let it go, whatever. But Johnson, traded. They traded Johnson to the Panthers.
Yep.
I don't know, man. Is that good? Is that a good thing for them to do to get rid of Johnson when they're trying to give a supporting cast to Russell Wilson?
Maybe they're just hoping Russ can still run.
I don't know. I thought Johnson did a great job last year for those guys.
He did. He still has Pickens though, right? So
but they got it. And as long as he uses Pickett, which I think he will, Pickett and the rest of the guys didn't use him, but
I think. Well, you have to use him now, but but the thing with Russ is he does kind of hone in on a guy that's his guy. So I would imagine he's gonna kind of dial in on Pickens anyway. Now, if you're a tight end for the Steelers, you may want to request a trade because he doesn't love using them. But
you're right. He does say he doesn't, man.
He likes to throw it downfield, and of course, Pickens can create separation. So if he wants to throw that long ball, he has his guy, right? Pickens can do that. So it's going to be, what do you do on the other plays that you got to kind of look at? Jimmy G and Darnold to the Vikings would be interesting. The thing is Jimmy G gets hurt so much. I don't know why you'd make a run at him unless he was almost free.
And that's kind of what I was thinking too, because he is quite injury prone.
Yeah. So Dustin, I kind of agree that I don't have a lot of faith in Kellen Moore overall. I think he's still an upgrade from what they had last year. But with what Dallas is going to have to do, I think the Eagles win that division still. Because, that offensive line is still going to be good. They have a running back, right? They still have receivers. Their defense should be getting better. So we'll see. But I think that I think the Eagles can pretty comfortably win this division. Realistically, they should have won it last year if they didn't just have this epic collapse down the stretch.
And that's what I was going to ask you, because they, I don't know if they 100% dealt with whatever issues they were dealing with that caused that epic meltdown.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to know is if they've resolved that as how they're going to come out this year.
That's a good question. I don't know, because Pags would have been the guy to really give some insight to that, because he was hearing things that obviously we aren't, just because he's closer to the the Philly sports scene. But I'd be curious to hear if they've moved the players that they needed to, because some players have left, right? So,
well, I don't know. Last time I heard AJ Brown was, his name was thrown out. being a part of that situation. Hurts was kind of thrown out in that situation. I mean, who knows? I mean, I guess one way or another, we're going to find out. I guess either we won't find out spring training, but we'll definitely find out game 1 of the regular season, right? And when they travel down, I guess, to Brazil to open up. And is that right? Isn't that what Pags said? I guess they're going to Brazil.
Yeah. So they do open up down there. They still haven't released who they're playing. God, that's weird, right? I mean,
that is weird, especially if you're going to Brazil. You would think that'd be something you'd already have slated into the schedule because of the travel distance.
Yeah, I mean, it's week 1. It's a Friday that they're doing it, and so you're opening up. You know who one of the teams are. I don't feel like it should be that difficult to figure out the other team.
I don't think it should be.
So
I just think that's something they would have already. I mean, I would have already thought the schedule would be written, and maybe it is written, and they're just not releasing the information.
Well, they always have their schedule release thing, right? So that always comes out after free agency and the draft, and basically it's the marketing machine keeping the NFL front and center. So they don't want to put it out too early. They already told you who everybody's playing. You just don't know what the schedule is.
I just thought it was interesting that they released that Philly was going. So I guess they must be playing a team that doesn't matter, maybe.
Well, either that or it's one of those they want to see what the teams are going to be set as. Like they already knew that the Eagles were going to be a good team. So they're like, okay, we'll get them in there. And then when it comes to the other team, maybe they're waiting on how it is they want the schedule to play out.
But even we haven't always sent our best teams overseas. Look how many crappy teams we sent over to Europe just to go over there and play.
It's true. But the difference here is it's the first game there and it's the same time zone.
Yeah, true.
Right. So the thing with the European games is they were always 6 a.m. on the West Coast. Right. Or 9 a.m., East Coast. Right. So when you look at it that way, they're like, well, we don't want to use up a primetime team. Whereas when you're looking at this game, it's the only game on Friday.
Yeah. So if you're in England, look, you're still dealing with Americans, and we ain't getting up that early for primetime teams. So you're getting the garbage barrel. And Brazil, viva los Brazil.
I mean, that's exactly why Mexico City got the game they did, right? They got the Niners and Cardinals. Yeah. So you're in the same time zone, so I mean, there's elements to it that is it fair? No, but it makes sense when you're talking about ratings. Because
trust me, I get it. I understand exactly where you're coming from, and it does from a marketing standpoint. That makes sense. I get all that.
Now, if they start playing consistently down in Brazil, then they'll start getting trash games.
No, I don't want them to get consistently like that. I still want our teams to be played here in the U.S. I mean, because look, man, I mean, I want to see my Cowboys. I mean, even though they suck, I still want to see them suck.
Well, I mean, the thing
I don't want them going to where's Cowboys going? I think they've got them played to go to Australia like 2025 or something like that. I don't know.
I think that one's a preseason game anyway. But the thing is it would only be one game a year. Right.
Yeah.
And it would be every other time, because one time it would be a home game, a different time it would be an away game. So you probably weren't traveling to the away game anyway. So I mean, it would be, you'd lose a game every couple of years. Right. So, I mean, it's not like it would be a huge impact on the fan base. And the reason they throw the worst teams is they have a hard time filling the stadium anyway.
Right.
So, but when you're doing it the first time, you got to shove a good game down there because you want to build that audience, right?
Right.
Which is why you had the Niners Cards, where that was a good game, right? Mexico City, there's 28 million people in that city. So you want to build that, that community of the NFL there. Going down to Brazil, it's going to be the Eagles. I would imagine that the other team is going to be a solid team. I don't think they're going to send someone down there that's just going to get the train ran on them.
Right.
So at least you would hope not.
We shall see, man. We shall see. But Speaking of, more on this free agency, though, the Texans looks like they've done a pretty good job, I thought. Who do you think's done the best so far, in free agency? Like, who do you think improved themselves the most?
The most? Atlanta.
Yeah.
I mean,
just with the Kirk Cousins alone?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Signing there 100%, that changes the dynamic of that team, because now they have somebody that can actually distribute the ball.
Right.
They end up with a new coach who will utilize Bijan. You have a quarterback that's smart under center and durable, right?
Yeah.
Outside of last year, he's mostly been injury-free, at least injury-free enough that he's played every game. So if you can keep him on the field and use that running game, they have a decent defense. You got a defensive-minded head coach, so I have to imagine that defense will still be good. Right. I think Atlanta really changes the way they look going into this next season by adding that quarterback. And I'm not a huge Kirk Cousins fan. Like, I think he has a lot of shortcomings. But when you look at that team, similar to the Steelers adding Russ, even though Russ isn't that same guy, they needed competent quarterback play, right? They have a good defense. They have some weapons. They needed somebody that could complete passes. And although Russ maybe not be his prime Russ, he's still better than Mason Rudolph. Right?
Well, in Mason Rudolph's case, I still think he's got some CTE from that helmet that he took from from Myles Garrett. So,
no doubt.
Hey,
no doubt.
Rudolph might not still be the same person anymore. I don't know could you imagine get hit with the helmet from Myles Garrett? That's got to hurt like hell.
Yeah, swinging it. Yeah,
and then it's your own damn helmet on top of that. So it's like insult to injury.
Yep. Yeah. So, Wilson is a notable upgrade from Pickett, from Mason. So obviously that team, even if you figure everything else was the same, right? They were a 9-win team last year with a trio of quarterbacks where they didn't believe in any of them. So you go into this, you have a guy that you can build around. Do I think they could be a 10-win team? Sure.
So,
when it comes to Atlanta,
and that's the thing too. I really fully believe that in Atlanta, I think the guy that's going to benefit absolutely 100% the most is going to be Kyle Pitts. I think this is a guy. I think this is a guy that's going to be a marquee tight end, and he just needs the ball thrown to him. That's all. He's never had the ball thrown to him.
Well, and that's I think
Cousins. And I think Cousins is good. Yeah.
Cousins does exactly that. He loves his tight ends. So,
and I think he's just going to blow up. He's going to have definitely a career-defining year under Cousins. And I think that's going to really be that another – because he's got, London, now he's got Pitts, now he's got Bijan, and then, a couple of, second and third reads. I mean, he's going to have quite a bit there. I mean, what did he really have in Minnesota? He did have the best running or wide receiver in Justin Jefferson, no doubt. But he really didn't have much. And he did have a good tight end in Hawkinson, no doubt about that. But he lacked that running game. They lacked a running game like there's no tomorrow.
So here's the thing. This was probably the most frustrating thing about that Vikings team is, the defense wasn't great, but it got better as the year went. But they just didn't use their running game because Madison is actually a solid running back. When you looked at the first 3 games of the year, if I recall, Madison had 19 touches through 3 games. That's not a winning way to play football.
Yeah.
So I don't care how good your running back is. If you don't hand it to him, he's not going to produce a lot. So, it'll be, at the end of the day, they're going to have to use their running game because they have Sam Darnold, right? So we'll see exactly how the Vikings do there. But
let's be honest, I'm not expecting too much from the Vikings. I don't think you are either. I think that division is going to come down to Detroit versus Green Bay and winner take all. That's 100%. What I see. The thing about it is, though, do you think that I'm really wondering why Detroit didn't hold on to Garner Johnson? Why would they let him go? I mean, that was a big piece of that secondary, even though I know he had injuries and battling injuries, but he's still a viable piece.
Yeah, honestly, I think it had more to do with cap space.
So that was more of a cap casualty?
Yeah, because he did, he was going to command some money. And, Yeah, I think that was more of a cap casualty more than anything else. I don't think it was something where they necessarily wanted to let him go. It was more of a need.
Let me ask you this. Detroit obviously had a great season.
Sure.
Great season last year. What do you expect, or what do you expect, coming from these guys now in the next year of this elevation? I mean, are they going to level off? Have they peaked, or do you expect more out of them?
So I think what we saw last year is who they are, right? Like we've seen them achieve, I think, what they're going to achieve. Now, do I think they could go further in the playoffs? 100%. I don't know that they're going to get like sizably better. Right. I think they will mostly be the team they were last year. Obviously they have some players coming in and out, but I think by and large, that's what we can expect is they will probably be that double-digit win team, which will be the first time in their franchise history to have back-to-back double-digit winning seasons. Right. But if they were able to do that, yeah, and then Green Bay probably is a wild card. They probably miss it by a game. And right. I think Josh Jacobs was a great pickup for them. He's I think he's 26. So, yeah. He's definitely a guy.
He's still young. He's definitely in his prime. I think got him at a good time.
Exactly. And he can catch, right? So he can do some things out of the backfield. So I like what Green Bay is building towards the future. I don't know that they're quite ready to take that top spot from Detroit this year. I think Detroit can win this again.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking. I really felt bad for Perry, man. Barry Sanders, because when he was at that game, he was looking so happy, and they were so optimistic this is going to be. Yeah. And then it just didn't happen for Barry. And I really felt bad for Barry because I know Barry's wanted Detroit to do something for a long time. My other question to you is when you take San Francisco, look at them. They just picked up Kendricks from the Chargers now. And they already have what I think is a damn good defense over there. Now they picked up another really solid piece to add into this mix. Yeah. Obviously they didn't come to fruition. They didn't beat San Francisco. They didn't beat the Chiefs. I mean, but they played them really well, but they just couldn't finish it out. So what do you expect from them?
They didn't, though. That's the thing, is they played well in spots.
Right.
But they ran into the same problem that Baltimore ran into, is they were outsmarting themselves. So in the third quarter, they stopped running the ball, right? When it comes to Baltimore, they just didn't run it at all. So those are the things that what's happening, Chad? Those are the things that are, kind of a problem, is not necessarily a personnel issue. You have a in-game coaching thing that you have to worry about. So do I think that they're the team that's going to win the division again? Absolutely. Especially with what Seattle is doing. Seattle is realistically, the way they're rebuilding, they're going to have so many new pieces on defense. I don't know that they're necessarily going to, I don't know that they're necessarily going to compete for anything. Honestly, even a wild card feels like a little bit of a stretch, because we just don't know. Well, we just don't know who's going to be on defense at this point. Right. So, I don't know what that even looks like. But yeah, I think the NFC West is still going to be the Niners. But again,
let's just be honest. I mean, I think Philly is probably the only other team that could give the Niners a run for their money. And Detroit, sure. I think Philly, Detroit, San Fran. I think those are your top three in the NFC. I don't think anybody else is going to compete against that. No doubt. And I do think it'll be San Fran. But I'm just wondering, do you think that next year San Fran and Kyle Shanahan are going to get over that hump and actually get? Because I still think maybe some of that play calling, some of the issues is with Kyle Shanahan himself.
Yeah. No, it's so Calvin Ridley, that would be a nice pickup for them. We'll see what happens. But
did Calvin Ridley, did he sign with the Raiders?
I didn't see anything official yet.
I would have liked to have seen, now Arthur Blank's not going to let that happen, but I would have liked to have seen him go back to Atlanta and team up with Drake London, team up with Kyle Pitts, team up with Bijan Robinson, and now you got a thrower that can get you the ball, man, and see what that can do, because that could be damn dangerous. Could
If
you
they
imagine that?
if Atlanta could keep him, that would be ideal.
I mean, that would be dangerous.
Yes.
Hmm.
That'd be a fun team to watch. And
Absolutely.
a team built like that could walk away with the division.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Let me ask you this: what if you had to put a percentage? Bo, you're a betting guy. Y'all talk
Okay.
these kinds of things.
What do we got?
You and Pags. Now they've got 2 under their belt. Travis says he wants more. Patrick Mahomes is taking pay cuts so we can bring in more. I got 2 questions. What is the chances of them getting Justin Jefferson from Minnesota? And then secondly, with or without Just, doesn't matter. What is the chances of the Chiefs, if you had to put a percentage on it, of them getting that 3-peat?
So as far as getting Justin Jefferson, 0 chance. There's 0 chance because he's still under contract. So it's not like they have to deal him. So unless KC was going to heavily mortgage their future to throw in on it, I don't see that happening because there are other guys out there like a Tyler Boyd, a Calvin Ridley, they're available. Right. So there's too many other options you could take. And they proved this last season that you don't necessarily have to have that, elite threat.
Yeah.
While you have Kelsey on the roster, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't feel like they have to mortgage their future to go get Justin Jefferson. So realistically, Jefferson is most likely going to be a Viking. I don't see anybody really giving up the farm to go get him.
Right.
The teams that could use him aren't close enough to be a receiver away, and the teams that are already good don't really need another receiver. Like it would be a cherry on top if he was available, but to trade away what they would likely want for him, because you're giving up at least 2 first rounders for it.
Oh
right?
God, yes.
So
that's at a bare minimum 2 first rounders.
Exactly. So would you realistically do that? No, probably not. So I wouldn't think that. And what was the second part of your question there?
So the second question is, so since we kind of know that Justin Jefferson, and I do agree with you, by the way, and if those exact reasons with Kelsey, being that I don't think you have to have the elite. I think you've got enough on that offensive side of the glass to get the job done.
Well, and you have a good defense.
Yeah, exactly. So now that you have Patrick Mahomes taking this pay cut, right, to make room to keep guys and maybe add one guy on defense if you think you need it, whatever. What is their chances? If you had to put a percentage on it, what percentage would you put on them getting the 3-peat?
Well, see, that's tough because the way things have gone, it sure makes it look like the NFL wants a 3-peat. Right. But based on football history, I feel like it's still a low percentage. Okay. Because you've seen some incredibly good teams through the course of history not be able to close the deal on a 3-peat. So I still think it's a fairly low chance, but again, the NFL seems like they want one. So I don't know.
Yeah. I think the NFL truly has embraced the media darling that Patrick Mahomes is. I mean, he really, people all like Tom Brady. I mean, Tom Brady was a likable guy, but they really, they really are gravitating to Patrick Mahomes.
It's funny, all over the place. It's funny because that team is starting to get a little bit of tarnish to it in the way that there is some dynasty fatigue, right? Because you went right from the Pats now directly into the Chiefs. Right. So there is some fatigue in that way. Like everybody was excited the first year that they won, right? They're like, oh, cool, KC got it done and all of this. And now they've been in the championship game almost every year. They've been 4 Super Bowls. They've won 3. It's starting to get to a spot where people are like anybody but the Chiefs, right? And yeah, it's just one of those, you didn't have a gap in between where there was another team in the AFC. The NFC actually has some decent turnover overall. But when you look at it from the AFC side, you just had a lot of the Patriots, and now you're having a lot of the Chiefs. And so there is a little bit of just you want to see someone else.
Right.
So as much as people are loving Kansas City and Mahomes and Kelsey, you're starting to see that following dwindle a little bit because they're like, let's get some other teams in here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you too, because it does get kind of boring when it's the same old damn team. But when the same old damn team is just good, it's hard. I mean, it's hard to get away from it, I mean, let me ask you, I mean, what Tom Brady did was crazy, man. I mean,
sure.
seven Super Bowls. I mean, that's just like, who the hell would have ever thunk that crap?
Well, especially because he did it in two different groups, right? Like he had 3 and 4 years, 3 and 5 years, something like that. And then they had a gap where they didn't win. They went to a couple, but they didn't, or no, actually I take that back. They didn't go to a couple. They ended up losing them later. So they had some where they flamed out in the playoffs, and then they win, another 3 with a couple of losses in between. And then he goes off and he gets one more, but I mean, he had a stacked team. But at the end of the day, what was unique about it was he did have that gap in the middle. They went to the playoffs, but they didn't necessarily get in the big game. And so that was unique in the way that they had a dominant team. They had an okay team. They had a dominant team, and then he goes and.
Yeah, it's like that pattern of every, I got you.
So
and I just don't know if Patrick Mahomes, do you think he can, I mean, where is he at right now? I think he's at 2 right now, right? He's got 2 or
he's got 3. He's got 3.
So he's got to get 4 more. Do you think he gets 4 more before he retires?
I don't.
That's a hard feat, right? That's a hard.
Yeah. I mean, especially because he's realistically not going to find another Kelsey, right? So when you look at Brady, he had Aaron Hernandez, and then he had Gronk. And so, I mean, he got lucky in the way that he had some really athletic, talented tight ends. I don't know if KC gets another one of those. They might. I mean, anything can happen, but it would be amazing if they did.
Yeah, I mean, on all honesty, and I would tell them, hey, if Kyle Pitts ever comes available, you might want to snag that dude. That might be Kelsey's replacement. I think you could do well with that. And let me ask you this. Look, I personally think that Patrick Mahomes is I know Tom's the GOAT because of the rings. I get all that,
Sure.
But I think that, had Patrick Mahomes been in that situation with them, I think he could have gotten that as well. I mean, I don't know. Is Tom really any better than like we talk about GOATs because of rings, but in my opinion, I think the greatest guy or the most dynamic guy is a Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean, he's a better athlete, no doubt. Does he break down a play pre-snap the way that Tom does? I think he probably was one of the best at it. Same with Peyton Manning. Like his ability to read a defense, especially because neither one of them were hyper athletic guys. I don't know if Mahomes is quite on that level as far as that's concerned, but his athletic ability is amazing. So, and not to say that
Pat is growing. I don't know that Pat, on the intellectual side, the IQ side of the game, I don't think he's done. I think he still gathers information, and
100%.
gets better at that.
100%. Yeah. I mean, he could easily go down as one of, if not the best quarterback ever. There's no doubt in my mind. I mean, honestly, if he quit today, he'd be in the Hall of Fame. So,
he's definitely Hall of Fame. I just think sometimes, do you think, and I guess kind of maybe the real question I'm trying to, allude myself to is do you think that sometimes the GOAT status could just be situational based? Like Tom was just in a really good situation and he does have a good, he does have good football IQ to go along with that situation.
I mean, that's always the case.
Put him in that, you know what I mean?
That's always the case. You look at Jim Kelly. If he wins those 4 Super Bowls in a row, like if he wins those 4 games, it's literally 4 games of his entire career. You talk about him completely different than you do today.
Oh, absolutely. Right? Absolutely. And Thurman Thomas, Bruce Smith, the whole 9.
Yeah. Like if he had those 4 rings, you'd be talking about him in the same breath that you talk about Joe Montana.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like they
Absolutely.
absolutely destroyed the league for 5 years in a row, because you got to remember the one year that they didn't make it before they went on their 4-year run, they were in the championship game. So it's not
Right.
like they were trash, right? Like they were a good team. They were one game short. Then they go to 4 in a row. Now they don't win them, but if they did, you are talking about Jim Kelly a whole different way. And so, I mean, the championships matter as much as people pretend they don't. You know, prime example of this, Eli Manning's going to get in the Hall of Fame. It's going to
Yeah.
happen. He's going to get in.
Yeah. I agree that it'll happen.
If he doesn't have those 2 rings, I don't know.
No, I'm gonna tell you, I'm a hard no on that one. I don't think without those rings, I don't think he gets in. I don't think his stats are as high or was where they should be to carry it, not having the rings, right?
I mean,
and the fact that he got it on the Patriots too. I mean, those are tough teams, right? So that even amps it up even a little bit more.
Well, that's why, right? Is he takes down the undefeated Patriots, right?
Yeah.
The only loss of their seasons in the Super Bowl. Like, you can't argue the fact that he was clutch through those playoff runs. Can't do it. He played amazing football through those runs. That being said, if you take those playoff runs out of it and you just look at his stats, he is a 500, quarterback, right? He won exactly as many as he's lost. His touchdown to interception ratio isn't amazing. His completion percentage isn't amazing. Like, everything about it is fairly average. His, his yardage total is pretty good because he lasted a long time. Right. So that gives you that LeBron effect, right? You were around long enough that you amassed the yards. But when you look at the rest of the stats, I mean, nothing pops off that says, oh, that's a Hall of Famer. I mean, during his era, when you think of Hall of Fame, you usually think of guys that were, at least considered the best in their era at some point, right? At least that's what you would think for the Hall of Fame. 0 point were you like, oh, Eli is that dude. He's ahead of Brady. He's ahead of Manning, like his brother. Like, I wouldn't put him ahead of Roethlisberger, really. Like, I mean, there's just kind of, he was never that guy. He had 2 playoff runs where he became incredibly clutch. And, I think he gets in because of those 2 runs, because it's not stat driven, it's vote driven. Right. And everybody liked that they took down, the Death Star of the Patriots that year.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie to you. Listen, I got a guy on my show, Frankie the Yankee, man. This guy is hardcore Tom Brady. We got another guy named Pride from Prideful Takes. You cannot, if you say one thing about Brady, they will be on you like white on rice paper, man. I'm telling you, they are all over it. It's like that is the untouchable.
Well, to be fair, Giants fans are the same way about Eli.
Yeah, I get that. And that's why I told him, I said, listen, you had your beautiful 20 years of reign, and now Brady's gone. Welcome to Cowboy Purgatory.
That's right. Take a seat.
On that note, who we got coming up, Bo?
Yeah, so, Kory Curtis is going to be coming on here pretty soon. Don't see him in the queue quite yet. But yeah, he's going to be coming on. Former Ohio State quarterback, former Gannon University, set a bunch of records there. And of course he is going to be playing in the AFL coming this season. So should be fun to chat with him. I've had him on my show before when he was entering last year's draft, and so it'll be cool to catch up and kind of see, how the AFL is coming back in, because it's something that we don't really have a ton of information on quite yet. For whatever reason, their website needs some help. So if anybody from the AFL is watching, get your media guy up to speed, because your website is terrible. We can't even see the schedule coming up, and your season starts relatively soon. So if we can find more on Wikipedia than we can on your own site. So again, if you're part of the AFL, if you could, update some stuff, would be helpful for those of us that talk about sports. That being said, we are at the halfway point here. Let's go ahead and get to our station break, and hopefully our guest will be in the queue when we get back.
This is Reggie Jones, owner and founder of Air Sports Academy. Air is based on the 4 core principles: heart, education, integrity, resiliency. Air is about developing student athletes physically and mentally through training, mentorship, and effective marketing. We've created a platform and a blueprint for our state to shine in the brightest of lights. I created this program because it was a need for our state. We needed to have the light shine on the student athletes in our region, and now that is happening at an all-time and undeniable rate. We created a lane for the kids in our state to get their college education paid for and set their families up for future success. We created an environment where serious athletes can now come compete fearlessly. We've achieved this through our variety of elite programs. Our 6-month off-season program, where first-year starters or seasoned vets can all come develop. Our 5-on-5 program, which is all about our line. Our youth tackle program, which is the first and only youth tackle team from the state of Washington to ever win a major national championship. Our 7-on-7 program, which is ranked top 10 in the country every year. Our high school 11-on-11 club tackle program, which creates unique and much-needed opportunities for our kids. Our college prep program, which allows our graduates to come back from college and prepare for the upcoming season. Our track and field program, which creates an opportunity for our young air boys and air girls to continue to get faster. When you're a national program, you receive national respect, which is why when you look at recruiting boards and top player lists from around the country, you'll always find players from Air on those lists. Which is why college coaches from some of the most prestigious schools around the country come into our facility to recruit our players. The Penn State, Alabama, Oregon, Stanford, Florida State, the list goes on. Our players are being recruited, offered, and committing to some of the top schools in the nation. The experience our players and families receive is second to none. We offer a competitive brand of sports at Air. We are the ball. And with that comes great responsibility. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. This is Air.
All right. So actually, I do have an update for him. He is on a Zoom call with his agent. So we're going to try and get him on when he's done. Obviously, I don't know what that conversation is looking like or how long that'll take. But there is something that I had on this that we ran out of time for in the first hour anyway. And mostly because it makes me laugh because he's always wrong. And that is how is Mel Kiper still one of the draft guys? Like, this is the part I don't understand. And maybe if you're watching the show,
put in the comments what you think.
I mean, yeah. Tell us your favorite / worst Mel Kiper take. I do have one right here that it was his take on Lamar Jackson, and is hilariously terrible.
How high could we see him go? I think second round, and maybe late this week, something like Terrell Pryor when he starts out at quarterback and becomes a wideout. But initially, I think the team addressed him maybe second round. We'll look at him as a developmental quarterback. 3 years, he's kicked to the curb. He's a wide receiver. He's a bust. He can't play quarterback. How high?
3 years.
He gets better than that. I mean, wow.
Man, and it's funny because he has so many of them. Like, as a Hawks fan, right? One of my favorite Mel Kiper takes is he gave the Seahawks 2011 draft, the one that brought in Wilson, Sherman, Malcolm Butler, right? Key pieces to the Super Bowl, right? He gave that draft class a D+.
Wow.
He said Sherm wouldn't be anything. He thought Malcolm was a waste of a pick, and he thought that Flynn should be starting ahead of Russell Wilson. Now, obviously, 2 years later, that group goes and beats the brakes off the Broncos in the Super Bowl. But so it's funny to me that, like, Mel Kiper to me is the weatherman of sports reporting, right? Like, you can be wrong, and somehow he keeps his job. Like, now I
I
understand
wonder
what
if
he's
he
doing.
says things for shock value, though. Maybe that's just his stick. You know, like
Well,
to go
no.
out
So
there, I'm gonna say some crazy stuff. That's just how I stay popular.
no, the thing that's funny is how his career started was he would put him out to like uh, agents, right? Like, or not the agents, but teams.
Right.
He would submit his draft list to their GMs. So I mean, they're not meant to be a Skip Bayless type, just annoy
Oh
people type of thing.
wow. Okay.
Like,
Okay.
so
So
so he is
he's serious about this stuff when he does it. Then.
he is 100%. Yeah. So I mean, it's not like he's deliberately trying to make people mad. It's just the takes are so bad. It's interesting to listen to.
Well, how much crow do you, or how much humble pie? We call it humble pie. How much humble pie do you think he eats on all that?
So
He's
I don't
gonna
think
be
he
eating a
eats.
lot.
Nah, he doesn't, because what he does is he disappears after the draft. And then you don't really see him much until next year's draft. You have this whole year of like forgetting all the dumb stuff he said.
Wow, what a time to be alive, man. Jeez. Okay.
Must have made some funky brownies. I mean, you're kind of not wrong. You're kind of not wrong.
No, I
But
don't
yeah,
think he's wrong either.
like some of his takes were amazingly bad. I know he was really high on, one of them he got wrong. Everybody got wrong, right? Like he
Right.
was super high on Jamarcus Russell. Well, most people were, right? Most
And then
people
you
thought
saw
that
what
dude
that
was going to be the
happened.
guy, right?
Yeah.
So, but then, I mean, not to say that you're not gonna pick people wrong. Of course you are, right? Like some of these people are just gonna be bust. He just has a consistency to it that, like, I'll watch Mel Kiper and then be like, okay, so he doesn't like this guy. This guy's probably gonna work out,
What do they call it? The Mel Kiper effect?
right? Kind of. Oh man.
Well, for whatever reason, though, hey, people keep wanting him to put him back to do it, though. So, I mean,
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, I think he is actually employed by ESPN. Like he gets ratings, right? Whether you're right or you're wrong,
right.
people watch. And honestly, that's all that matters when it comes to really any of these shows, right? I mean, when you look at it, whether you're on a major network, you have a podcast, whatever. If you're out there and you're just saying crazy stuff, for the clicks, right? So I mean,
Yeah, if the ratings are there, the ratings are there. I mean, you're not going to deny ratings.
no, I mean, when you
Especially
look
when
at
that's, drawing your financial, commercials and things like that. I mean, that's just what happens.
well, I mean, prime example of that, you got Skip Bayless, who literally has his whole career just on making people mad, right? Or just saying completely stupid things. Like when you look at his tweet yesterday. I don't follow his tweets, but it sure came across my my timeline a bunch when he used a comma very well, though, because if he didn't, his tweet would have read very differently, because it says all in my ass, right? It's a good thing there was a comma, because that would have been a very different statement.
What a time to be alive, man. Speaking of crazy stuff, though, seriously, I saw on ESPN yesterday where, and I don't know if you saw it, but RFK Jr. is seriously thinking about asking Aaron Rodgers and or possibly Jesse the Body Ventura to be his vice president running mate on the independent ticket.
Wow.
Let that sink in for a minute.
Wow. That's yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Weird,
Yeah.
but all right.
Think about that for a minute. So if it hypothetically, if
Sure.
RFK and Aaron Rodgers was to win the presidential nomination,
Okay.
everybody in the White House is in a dark room making decisions.
Okay.
That's what's going to happen. They're all going to go into a dark room. That's how they're going to solve stuff. Aaron's going to say, look, guys, we're going into the dark room 3 days. When we come out, we're going to have everything resolved.
I mean,
I'm just saying.
I'm just imagining the amount of smoke that rolls out the front door when it opens, right? They burned some cookies? Nope. Nope. Nope, they sure didn't.
Oh, sweet goodness, man. I mean, I don't know how that's going to work, but
that would not
I'm
work.
kind of hoping it happens. I just kind of want to see something like that, just to see. And they're not going to get elected, but I want to see it. I think that, look, for our point of view, that's a lot of content. That's a lot.
I mean, that would be an insane amount of content. Besides,
That's
I mean, we don't even really need that to actually happen, just because we've seen this before. Idiocracy is a movie that they're really trying to make a documentary, and you know, that would be President Camacho right there. Like that. That's what
like Jackass, like 5, Jackass 5, RFK
100%.
Jr. and let me ask you this: if you're Bobby Kennedy and you're up there in heaven, because you know this pops is in heaven, and he's looking down on his son and he's thinking, like, son, seriously? I said, your uncle was president of the U.S. I was damn near president of the U.S.
Yep.
And this is what you're going to do to our legacy? You're going to go get Aaron Rodgers in a dark room, and this is what we're going to be? You
know, to be fair, though, the State of the Union type of things would get some crazy ratings.
Oh, my God. Did you see that State of the Union?
Oh, it would be fantastic, because there would be the dumbest shit you've ever heard said on that stage.
Well, you're not wrong. I mean, at all, you're not wrong.
I mean, honestly, I guess it wouldn't be that different than what we've had, but
I'm just telling you, hey, it's gonna happen. Whether it's Aaron or Jesse the Body, it's gonna be one of them.
That would be crazy. I mean, I guess if you had Jesse, he at least has been in a role, right? Because he was a governor, right?
Governor out there in Minnesota, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess at least you'd have some political experience. Not that this is a political show at all, but I guess
no, not at all. No, not at all. Trust me, this is so not political. But this is some funny stuff, and I don't care who you are. It would be funny stuff.
It would be entertaining. Jesse Ventura would actually make sense. Like if you were going to have one of those guys, Aaron Rodgers would be something different. Like that would be some crazy stuff.
You know, RFK Jr., you'd have a better shot at taking Snoop Dogg as your running mate.
That would be hilarious. And there would definitely be a lot of smoke rolling out that door.
Oh, man. Hey, you're not lying. There would be a lot.
I went to a Snoop concert here in Seattle at the Paramount. I want to say like 6 years ago now. And the amount of weed smoked in that building, like you would get a contact high walking on the block. Right? Like you wouldn't even be to the front door yet. Like you'd round the corner because you have to park a million miles away. You'd be walking up and you could literally smell the weed like 3 blocks away.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it looked like a storm cloud inside the place. Still a good concert though. It's still a good concert.
Only in the world can talk about Snoop Dogg and RFK Jr. Good times, man. But yeah, man, yeah. So what do you think about baseball so far? I don't know about your team, but my team we're like 8-6 in spring training. So
the M's are hot trash, man. As of yesterday, they were 5-11, which that's kind of the season I'm expecting for them. Is really just nothing good. Everything they did in the offseason so far was basically getting rid of talent. They really haven't added anything. And so this is a team that is really just getting worse, which sucks because, I'm a Mariners fan, good, bad, or indifferent. And unfortunately, there's just been a lot of bad.
Yeah, well, no, I understand what you're saying. Like Houston's like 9-8, but it amazes me. Now I'll take Baltimore; they're 15-3, but then you got Boston. I mean, Boston was terrible last year; they're 11-7. Detroit was terrible last year; they're 11-7. So, and then you go up to, and then you go to a lot
in spring training, though.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So you look at Colorado; they're like 11-6, and the Angels are 11-7. KC, for love of God, is 11-7. And the Chicago Cubs are 10-7. So these are teams that most likely I don't put too much into spring training just because that's why I don't know how you really can't take these standings seriously.
No, not at all. Spring training's laughable because there are so many years that the M's were really good in spring training, right?
Right.
And there would be all these like lofty, oh, they're going to win their division and all of this, right? And then, April comes around and then they just play horribly for, most of the month. And
Right.
then, they'll start to kind of correct things. And then about, a couple of weeks before the All-Star break, you're like, okay, they're back in the mix. Like they look like they could do something. They might even be leading. And then the All-Star break comes and then they forget how to play baseball for 3 weeks. And then they're way out of it again. And then they just have to like slowly build back up. And occasionally, like 2 years ago, they sneak into the playoffs in a wild card spot. But for the most part, they've basically been between like a game, between 1 and 8 games out of it by the end of the season. And that's just been kind of their roller coaster ride of a season for, 20 years is.
Wow.
And unfortunately for this year, we don't even have a good spring training. So you're not even getting the hope to get dashed for the season. Like they're playing bad in preseason.
Yeah, no, you're not. Hey, listen, you're not lying, and that's what really makes me nervous about it. I understand this is just preseason, and so I really try not to get too caught up in it. But like a lot of times, like for example, a lot of the Astros games, Altuve's been going like 0 for 3, 0 for 2. Like a lot of our starters are just, if you look at their batting averages, they're horrible. Like they're freaking horrible. And I tell myself, Jay, it's spring training. It's gonna be all right. It's all gonna level out once the season starts. But then I tell myself, yeah, I don't know. I mean, how do they just all of a sudden just hit another switch and start hitting again? Like, how does that happen?
I mean, that's baseball though, right? Like you'll have guys in the slumps and then they'll get that one hit and then all of a sudden they start seeing the ball better again. So, I mean, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Like if you were going to have a slump, I'd rather it be in spring training.
Right, versus the regular season. Because that's what happened with the Astros last. Well, Bo, you were there. You watched how the Astros were last year.
You started real slow.
Right there with us.
Yeah, you started real slow.
Oh God, we were horrible, Bo.
Yeah,
horrible. To the point
right
where I'm telling Frankie, Bo, look, I'm a diehard average, but I was telling, I don't know about this year, man. I don't know, man. I don't even know if we're gonna get to third place the way we're playing right now. And Frankie's always telling me, Jay, calm down. But I'm a very passionate guy. When I see my team looking rough, it makes me nervous, And then of course, we did win the division, which, in all honesty, I think it would have been better had we finished in the damn wild card. I think we finished the wild card. I think we're World Series champions because we couldn't, as you know, Bo, neither one of us or the Rangers could win at home for shit. So, I think it would have been better for us to just be the away team the entire time.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. I mean, the start to your season was bad because I mean the M started a little bit slow, but I mean you guys were. Like,
Bo, you were kicking our ass. Every time we played Seattle, you had our number. No doubt about it. Sure. I even told Frankie, I said, Frankie asked me, she said, Jay, what is one team in the baseball realm that you do not want to face? I tell them every time, Seattle. Don't make me play Seattle.
Especially like last year and the year before. You didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, the year before, we gave you your hardest series of the playoffs.
Right.
And then last year, we did. We like the one team we were able to beat up on was you guys. So as we were getting down the stretch, it was like, oh man, if we can both get in, like you don't want to see us later.
And I didn't. I told him, I said, you know what? We have a better chance at Texas than we do at Seattle.
Hands down.
And it's true. Literally, had we been the damn wild card, we would have won that series. I know we would have won that series.
Probably. But
had we gone up against Seattle, oh hell no.
Yeah, that's a coin flip. That's a coin flip how that goes.
Yeah, I would not have. I would have been real super nervous going up against you guys. I wasn't nervous against Texas at all, except when we were at home. And I don't know what it is, man. And you know what? We've had that part forever. And I mean, Texas is. I mean, our left field porch. I mean, if you're having an off night as a pitcher, that porch will kill you.
Yes.
Oh, I've seen it too many times.
But the fans are happy.
Oh yeah, I mean, they're getting souvenirs right and left. I told my wife every year. I said, "Hey, man, let's see if we can get some Crawford box seats because that's seriously. If you want a chance to get in a baseball, well, it may not be your team, but you just got a good shot."
Yep. Yeah. No, I mean, that'd be the place to sit. I mean, that's always the hard thing with coming to a game here is they are harder to get home runs.
Yeah, Seattle's not. That was our kryptonite. God, you guys were our kryptonite, brother.
Yeah, if we could have been a couple other teams, kryptonite would have been nice.
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah, trust me. I understand what you're saying there as well. I saw a report coming out that Dylan Cease may be there may be a link to him in the Yankees. Maybe there's some talks are going on. So, I mean, with the whole injury with Garrett Cole and that elbow, God knows how long he's going to be out. Dylan Cease would certainly. That's another guy that has destroyed the Astros. Every time I've gone up against the White Sox and Dylan Cease was pitching, he just gave us a hard time the whole time. Always give us a hard time. So,
yeah,
if the Yankees could secure Dylan Cease, that would be a huge win for those guys. Because right now, the way I look at the Yankees is I'm not worried about them at all.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
And I know Frankie hates to hear that, but it's the damn truth. Because I mean, outside of the Juan Soto pickup, they really haven't done a whole hell of a lot to improve that team. And especially with the Garrett Cole injury going down, which is their best. Now you got what? Now you got Nestor Cortez. Okay, but what I think the worst thing that they did, and I think they're realizing it now, is Rodon is not as good as I think they thought he was when they picked him up. Because Rodon is looking very, very beatable. And I don't know what the status of Frankie Montez is, but from everything I'm hearing, he's not really a factor either on that bullpen. So I don't really expect that much of the way of pitching from those guys.
No, I mean, when it comes to this point in the year, though, the only thing I ever really worry about, like, however you're playing in the preseason or, spring training, whatever, it doesn't matter, right?
Right.
Because it generally changes a lot going into the regular season. The thing that I always worry about is something that, like the Mariners have right now, is one of their pitchers gets injured.
Right.
I mean, especially for a pitcher, as soon as you have an injured guy, I mean, that disrupts not just the rotation, but usually it's a lingering thing because of when they're trying to power through it. They don't have their full complement of pitches. It generally doesn't have as much power. The command isn't quite the same. So it's the pitching staff and relief pitchers, have a big part of that is when they get hurt in the preseason, that's going to mess up their starts or their relief opportunities for half the season. So, that's always the part that I worry about. And it's one of the reasons why the Mariners are going to be, as bad as I think they're going to be, is they already have some of their pitchers injured.
Right. Yeah, and that's another thing. I don't know if you heard this too or not, and I still don't know why he's wanting to, or why his interest is this. But now I'm seeing where Blake Snell has interest in Anaheim. Have you seen, or with the Angels? Have you seen that?
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Yeah.
I mean,
I want to say I read that. I don't know if it was yesterday or day. I think it was yesterday. I read it. I'm trying to see if I can find that article. But now it's looking like Blake Snell has interest in the Angels. And I don't know why you would have interest there because, bro, they're not going anywhere. So why, unless that's where the money's at for him and he wants the money, right?
Yeah.
Yankees say Cole is unlikely to pitch. Obviously, he's not likely to pitch. So I think Cole's going to be out for a few weeks. That's what I've seen here. But I wanted to find that real quick so I could. Damn, Darryl Strawberry had a heart attack. Did you hear that?
I didn't, but that makes sense with the amount of cocaine as that guy did.
Bro, I'm surprised he's still kicking. Honestly, I'm man. And then Judge was injured, but the MRI was clean, so it looks like he's going to be okay. But where was that? I wanted to find. Well, I don't know where I saw it. I know I read it. I don't know if it was on SI I read it, but don't be surprised if maybe Blake Snell winds up over there with the Angels. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised one bit. I don't think he's going to help them out tremendously. I mean, the Angels are just, they don't really have too many people out there that's really going to elevate that team to a level,
No, I mean, they're going to fall off this year. So.
What a time to be alive. But hey, if you get the Quan, who cares? Because you're riding around in a nice ass Ferrari, and we don't care.
Hey, that's what I always say. Like, if you're gonna be depressed, I'd rather do it in a Cadillac than a Honda.
Hey, so Frankie just put out that looks like Cole is going to be out 1 to 2 months.
Oof.
What? I mean, I know that hurts, quite honestly, but I mean, this is his elbow. It could have been like Tommy John bad, right?
Yeah,
so,
I mean, it could have been a season ending. Sure.
Yeah. So 1 to 2 months, not a big deal. You can recover from that. As a team, you can recover from it, right? Could have been worse.
You're going to get him back at the first part of June?
Yeah, you'll get it back in the 1st of June. So if he can stay around 500 when you get him back, then you have a fighting opportunity to get into that wild card. Spot. I don't think look, let's be honest. These guys are not going to beat the damn Baltimore Orioles, okay? The Orioles are too good for that.
The Orioles are good.
If they can get ahead of, Toronto or whatever, then they'll be okay.
I mean, yeah, Toronto's beatable for sure. So, yeah, I mean, this is definitely one of those years that I think there will be quite a bit of turnover in the playoffs. Right. Now, baseball isn't always like it is in football, but I think this is one of those years where there's quite a bit of turnover as far as the teams, especially towards the lower end.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So if you were looking right now at baseball as a whole, and of course, guys, this is so way out. I always like to get, people's first reaction of who they think, and then the middle of the row, and then at the end of it, just so we can see how it all played out, right?
All right.
If you had to take a team right now that you think, who is your favorite right now for the World Series? Like, who would you say you just have a good feeling about for the World Series win?
Oh, man. Yeah. Like, you have to think the Dodgers have a shot, right? With the amount of money they're throwing at it.
Right.
So you would think the Dodgers would be in that mix. They lose it, but
right.
On the other side, I'm not sure. That one's tough. I only say the Dodgers because of, again, how much money they're putting at it. But a lot of it doesn't hurt them this year, right? So they're going to have a good team starting out. Over time, that team's going to be a dumpster fire. But these next couple of years, they should be really good. Now, granted, Ohtani's not going to be pitching, but he has shown he can hit. So, so we'll see. But yeah, from the other side, I don't know. Who are you thinking?
Yeah, in all reports out of spring training, of course, again, mind you, this is spring training. I don't want to is Yamamoto's looking actually pretty good. So I am expecting Yamamoto to actually be the real deal, and we'll see how well he actually handles the real season. So time is still out on him, but it is looking like this guy could, be effective at what they're paying him. But I'm not believing in the Dodgers. I don't. I'm not into that bandwagon.
I don't really, but I'm just going off the dollar figure.
Oh no, I understand. Trust me, because when we went off the dollar figure, everybody and their mother was thinking, "Oh man, the Mets. They're stacking up left, right, up and down." And they come out and they put up a big ass, nasty, third place, fourth. I mean, God, it was horrible.
So the thing is it doesn't matter to me how good the Mets are. I never believe in the Mets.
Well, that's true. It's like hey, Kershaw's looking pretty good. I still don't believe in Clayton Kershaw. You ever seen his postseason track record?
It's the worst.
Not that good. Yeah. So, who I think honestly is I think the Astros still need a couple of spots to fill for me to have a warm fuzzy about them, and I don't have a warm fuzzy about them. We don't have Luis Garcia, which I still think is one of our best pitchers this year because he's still recovering from Tommy John. I think Verlander's going to be out for a little while, still coming off of his issues. So I think the Astros are going to have another tough start. So I don't have that warm fuzzy about even my own club. But who I do think, and I was looking at last year where they won the World Series, they still had that edge about them. Like they weren't done. Like they were still hungry for more. Aroldis Chapman came out and said a couple of quotes that he wasn't done and he wanted more. I think Bruce Bochy is a hell of a fucking good manager, and I think he's not done. I think they're getting Jacob deGrom back, and if he can even stay healthy, and I think if they monitor his time and keep him ready to go for the postseason and not so much the first part of the season, because I don't think they need it. I think the Rangers, can have the opportunity to do a repeat. So I'm riding with the Rangers right now. And I hate to say that because I'm an Astros guy, but I feel my warm fuzzy for who I think can get the World Series win is still the Texas Rangers.
Now, the Rangers are a good team. They definitely got hot at the right time.
Right.
But, they're a good team. They're a good team. And one of the things that was good about them going into this year is they didn't lose a lot.
Right.
So
they didn't. They didn't lose anybody. If anything, they're going to be gaining rather than losing. And they're gaining without even having to spend money to gain.
Exactly. And that's why I say, I do agree with you. I like the Rangers, but they're not a over-the-top dominant team. So they do need some similar action to what they had last year where, they were there, right? They were there all year, but they weren't like killing people. But then at the end of the year, because they were able to gut out all those wins during the season, right? Like they were able to just kind of battle out through series after series, right? Like they were winning series. They weren't sweeping them. They were battling through them. And that was huge for them when it came to the playoffs, is they knew exactly what they had to do because it's what they did all year. So, they got hot at the right time, and when they needed to battle them out, they were able to.
The only thing that I could say that I would have, to really have 100% confidence in the Rangers, the only thing I would have liked to seen them do was when Ryan Stanek and Hector Neris came on the block, I would have liked to seen them pick up both of those guys.
Sure.
Because they could have got them at a very, very super, super economical price that would have broke the bank. But yet those guys are very solid middle relief guys. And and when you have the middle relief guys that can eat up 1 or 2 innings effectively, that really bodes well for your setup crew and for your starters. So I would have liked to see them pick up those 2 guys, honestly, if we're not going to keep them, I would have liked to see them get them. And bolster up that.
You don't want the M's to get them? Come on, man. Help a brother out. I said, you don't want the M's to get them? Come on.
No, man. Listen, look. You know how, like, when they tell you in the Army, right? Or it always goes God, country, Army, family, so forth, right?
Sure.
That's the way I work in my state of Texas. It always goes Houston Astros, then the state of Texas, and then my family. That's how you got to keep it in the state of Texas, baby. You can't go outside of the Listen, I will tell you this. The only team that I honestly go for outside of the city of the Houston city limits is Dallas Cowboys. That's my only team. But I always keep it within my state. I would never go out of my state, and that's just because I'm Texas proud. That's all that is. But anyway, seriously. But back to the Rangers real quick. I really feel like Bruce Bochy, and I hope he learned this. I really think if he could just control the amount of pitches and innings that deGrom goes and preserve him for the postseason as best he can, that really will be the decide. Because if you got a Scherzer, deGrom going into that thing along with the other guys they got, they have a really good pitching rotation, but they are a little older. So I'd like to see Bruce Bochy preserve his older arms a little bit more. So when they get into the postseason, they're on all cylinders.
To be fair, that's basically how the league works at this point anyway. You don't hardly see a starter go past the 5th inning anymore. As soon as they hit that 100 pitch mark,
you don't. Those days are gone.
They're sitting down. So
unless you got a perfect game or a no, you're not going to see it happening.
Yeah, no. So, really, as soon as you hit that 100 pitch mark, it's a wrap. You're coming out of the game.
And honestly, you should be doing that. Not only from an analytical standpoint, but from a health standpoint. Go
what are you talking about? Nolan Ryan.
Bro, listen, man.
Game and then 3 days
with
later,
all the HTMOs and this new, millennial generation, they don't make them like that anymore, Bo. You know
That's
that.
True.
They don't make them like that anymore.
To be fair, when he tore his elbow in his final game, he threw one more pitch and it was 98 miles an hour with a torn UCL.
Look, you can't.
He was different.
You cannot have the name The Express without being The Express.
There's no doubt. I mean,
God,
what?
I look at Nolan Ryan right now when look, Nolan, don't get mad at me when I say this to you.
He'll still come beat you up.
He will still come beat my ass up. But seriously, hey, they showed a picture not long ago. I want to say maybe a few weeks ago where he was sitting in the stands, and it wasn't even at a baseball game. It was like some other sporting event. He just in the stands, and that guy has the best resting bitch face I have ever seen in my life.
Oh, sure.
He looks angry 24/7.
You have to be to throw as hard as he did, as long as he
Bro,
did.
you know what I'm saying? You know who else? But you know who else had that face? Was Randy Johnson. Oh, that guy had a great face. Great face for that.
Randy's pitch selection was amazing. Plus, he was massive, right? Like what was he, 6'10"?
6'7"?
6'7"?
Well, you know, he might be tall. You're right. I think he might be 6'10".
I don't know. Like,
he's a very tall human being.
He is very tall. Then you throw him on top of a mound, right? So when he steps off and he delivers the ball, he's letting go halfway to the plate. Like,
you're right. By the time you swing the bat, you're swinging the bat at his knuckles.
Pretty much. He was amazing to watch, though. Like, it was awesome. You know, when he was here with the Mariners. I wish they didn't do him the way they did, which is why he retired with a Diamondbacks hat on. But plus he won a series there. But it was too bad that he left the way he did. But man, it was fun to watch him pitch.
You know, who do you think was the best? If you had to look at all of baseball history, who do you think was the best pure hitter in baseball?
Pure hitter?
Yeah, just
I mean,
make contact and could get on base. Just the best hitter. Guy who could just see the plate like nobody.
Had to be Barry Bonds.
I don't know, man. I hear that. I'm more of a Tony Gwynn guy. I think Tony Gwynn was one of the best I've ever seen play the game.
Tony Gwynn was nice. The thing with Barry Bonds is he didn't have an out pitch. He didn't have one he'd chase.
No, yeah, right. I get that. And I don't think, but Tony didn't either. Look at the strikeout rate of Tony Gwynn. It's almost non-existent.
No. I'm with you. And that's why I said Tony Gwynn was nice for sure.
And I'm not trying to chastise you on Barry Bonds, man. Barry Bonds is a great hitter too, right? I mean,
so the thing with Barry, right? Like everybody, he gets the hate because of steroids, right? But
but you still got to make contact. Steroids isn't. Steroids cannot get you to make contact.
Exactly.
It's just for power. It's power purpose only. That's it.
Yeah.
So he was a great contact hitter.
Plus he was hitting guys that were also juiced up. Right. So, I mean, honestly, the other guy that is probably one of the best contact hitters ever was Edgar Martinez.
Yeah, I like Edgar Martinez. I'll give
one of the best contact hitters ever. I mean, that dude was a double machine. And when you think of the fact that he was not the most athletically built guy, for him to get that many doubles, like imagine if he had speed, he would have been the triple king.
Right. I mean, there's really, a few just really superb, hitters. I mean, Pete Rose, clearly. I mean,
Sure.
He's a hit king, right? So Pete Rose is in there. Barry Bonds is in there. Edgar Martinez is in there. And like I said, Tony Gwynn is in there. I like Vladimir Guerrero. I thought he was a really good one. Clearly, not Pudge. Rodriguez, A-Rod was in there.
To be fair, Pudge actually was a pretty good contact hitter.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, there's a lot of really, the baseball has seen a lot of really, they don't happen all the time, but there's some really, and that's the thing too, like going back real quick, if you don't mind, just real quick, we talked about the Hall of Fame and is it watered down or are people getting in that shouldn't get in? And I know how Pags feels about it. Obviously, me and you have talked about it. I feel about it.
Here's the thing with that is there's guys that get in that don't necessarily make sense, which is why Pags is like, oh yeah, it's the Hall of Very Good.
Right.
And I agree with him in a way that you'll see guys get in that the stats don't quite make sense. And then you'll see guys that don't get in, like Sheffield, who absolutely.
Why is Gary Sheffield not in the Hall of Fame?
Well, and this last year was his last year, right? So now it's going to have to go.
And that's what worries me too, because now Billy Wagner is approaching his last year. If he hasn't already passed him, I know he was getting close.
Yeah, he's close. Omar Vizquel right? I think he's in the last 2 years. That's an 11-time Gold Glove winner. How is he not getting in?
How is an 11-time Gold Glove winner not in the Hall of Fame is stupid to me. But yet, as Pags loves it, Scott Rowland is.
Yeah,
what are we doing, man? What are we doing?
And so that's the thing is it's like a lot of the Baseball Hall of Fame doesn't necessarily make sense. And it's because it's a voting game. And the rules to be one of the voters, you basically have to be a beat writer for 5 years. And then you still have another 5 years of eligibility after you're done. Right. So once you're done being a reporter, you still have another 5 years of eligibility to, still vote. Right. So I don't know. I don't love that. On your hitters, pure hitters. The other one that's kind of a fun stat, also, a former Mariner, is Ichiro. So,
that's a whole nother conversation. I love Ichiro. I do.
In his 10th at bat, he gets a hit, right?
Yeah.
Which makes him 300. His average never dropped below that the rest of his career.
And that's insane to know that you're an average 300 guy. I mean, how many people do you think are out there average 300 guys? I mean, you're talking about Ty Cobb kind of stuff, right?
Well, especially when you figure after his 10th at bat in the league, it never dropped below it.
I mean, that's insane.
That's insane.
And that's the thing. That's the thing, right? I mean, and I want to highlight this because it's very hard unless your name is Mariano Rivera.
Sure.
It's very hard for a closer to get into the Hall of Fame because honestly, they only pitch one inning. You're looking at 3 outs, every so often, right? So it's very hard for a closer. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Unless you're Mariano Rivera, it's very hard. Look, Billy Wagner is a classic example of that. This guy, he's not Mariano Rivera, okay? I'm not going to say Billy Wagner is Mariano Rivera. I'm not saying that. But this is the same dude that when I put his ass in there, I know I got a guaranteed 3 and let's go to the house.
Well, so
how is he not in there?
That's the thing is where those guys can get in is based on saves.
I understand. Yeah.
Well, so the thing is you don't get a save if you're kind of far ahead.
No, I understand. You have to be coming. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, so you can't be behind to get I mean, I guess you can be behind to get the save, but
because in that case, it would be if they came back and got it in the bottom of the ninth, and then of course you were pitching at the top of the ninth, and then you got the save.
Exactly. So I mean, it's one of those where if your team had too much offensive firepower, but you still came in and closed the game out, you don't get the win, right? The starting pitcher gets the win. But
you just came in and did your 3 outs and we're good.
Exactly. But you weren't close enough to get the save, right? So where where closers usually get it is based on saves. So you actually kind of need your offensive production to suck so that you can get the saves.
To be able to get into the Hall of Fame. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, come on, God. That's it. That's even more supporting unless you got Mario Rivera as your name. It's very hard for closers, like you said, unless your team just sucks to get into the Hall of Fame. You could be just as good as the guy whose team sucks, but because your team didn't suck, you didn't get the save. So technically, and that's what I'm saying. We're looking at the fucking technicalities as to why you're not in a damn Hall of Fame. Now, what kind of sense are we dealing there, Bo?
Well, I mean, that's the same as in football for special teams guys.
Oh, I understand that. And that's what I'm saying. I feel like those guys, it's so hard for them to get into the Hall of Fame because of where they are in terms of their meaning to the team, I guess, or their role with the team, right? Maybe that role isn't as flashy as what it should be, right? To get
sure. Well, I mean, and even if it is flashy, you look at a guy like Devin Hester, right?
Yeah.
Who absolutely changed the game. Everybody was worried about him returning the ball. He was a part of 2 all-decade teams and part of the, 100 team, right? For the first 100 years of the NFL. And he still was a question mark on whether or not he'd ever get in.
That's insane to me. It really is insane to me. Do you remember that guy from New Orleans that was a returner? I think his name was Michael Johnson. I know his last name was Johnson. He used to be a UPS driver. And then he wound up being the New Orleans Saints kick returner. And he got quite a few, and not as much as Devin Hester necessarily, but he got quite a few kick return touchdowns. And I remember, for some reason, his name and I remember watching him, and it really resonated with me. And this guy was a UPS guy, and now he's doing kick returns in the NFL. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's like, Leon Washington was a great returner.
Yeah.
And I mean, but after he retired, have you even heard that name again? No.
What's interesting, for talking about kick returners and craziness, Earl Campbell, let's say about it. Earl Campbell was a damn kickoff returner for the Houston Oilers.
Yeah.
He returned kickoffs, and he was their star running back, and he was damn near 70% of the offense and their kick returner. And people people don't understand how much the Oilers single-handedly put on the shoulders of Earl. Like, he literally was the Oilers organization and was keeping them in the Super Bowl contention, right? I mean, literally, if Billy White Shoes Johnson, if they didn't screw that call up and gave him that touchdown, they would have gone to the Super Bowl that year. And if you go back, now they went back and looked at he was actually in bound, but they called him out of bounds and it cost him the Super Bowl. But Earl Campbell is, when we talk about people who are underrated or people who don't get recognition for what they did in the league, Earl Campbell was a huge one that never really kind of got, recognition for what he meant to a football team and how much he actually carried the load. I mean, it's incredible.
When you're talking about that era, though, there were a lot of running backs that did.
Well, you're right. You're right.
That did a lot of the returns because they weren't necessarily looking at it as take the ball to the house. They were, who on our team can catch the ball, get hit
effectively, and run.
Yeah, right. So it was a lot of running backs that got quite a few touches.
I froze up or both.
Oh, there we are.
Yep. I said myself, either Bo froze up or I froze up. I don't know.
You froze up. But
okay, my bad.
I mean, it's part of it. It happens to one of us almost every day, it seems like.
Hey, but just so you know, when I move into my house in a couple of months, I just installed my internet at the house, and I got this super high-speed boosted internet. So I'm supposed to be like the creme de la creme of internet.
So that's actually that's what's happening because we're in the middle of moving now, right? And so I did the exact same thing. I'm like, okay, what is the fastest internet you have? Cool, that's the one I'm gonna get.
Yeah, I told that guy. Because like where I'm moving is literally right next door to Sam Houston State University.
Okay.
But we're still out in the sticks. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't get, bro, if you don't have internet, you won't have, you're out in the dark. You're in the booty. You're off the grid. You're in Naked and Afraid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I told that man, I said, listen, I do podcasting. I said, my wife's a teacher. We highly rely on the internet and its connectivity. I said, I want NASA out here putting something in that can keep me on point. You know what I'm saying? I said, so
whatever fiber optic you can roll down the driveway, that's what I need.
I said, hey, if you can put NASA out here, that's what I want. So what does NASA cost me? You know what? It really wasn't bad. You know what NASA cost? About $70. And I got routers put all throughout my house. So apparently there's more than one router, but it's all throughout my house. So apparently I'm going to be hooked up like space.
Yeah. So basically those are repeaters. So you'll have your modem and your router.
Okay, repeater. You know more than I do on this.
Yeah. Well, because I always end up putting like commercial grade crap in my house because I don't like stuff to drop out. And so I have all this stuff from, the businesses that I owned because a lot of the quoting and stuff like that, it's all online.
Okay.
So I couldn't afford to have the internet to go down. And so I always now, because I'm doing this, the equipment's kind of overkill, right? Like it was designed to be able to have perfect connectivity through 3,600 square feet of an automotive shop. And now I put all of that equipment in a house.
And well, that's roughly about the size of my house. I think my house livable space is 3,250. Total space is 5,000, but that's a lot of porches and garage. But livable space is like 3,250. So I told the guy that. He's like, "Yeah, we're gonna give you a couple of boosters. I said, I want NASA. Whatever NASA looks like, I want NASA in that house.
Yep.
I want to see Bo and 8 different dimensions, if that even exists.
I believe that's where this comment should come up now. Dark room.
yeah. West Coast win is just he just came in. We were talking about Aaron Rodgers, and I made the dark room comment. I'm telling you, West Coast win. They're gonna be in a dark room, smoking dope, getting high on peyote, and that's how the government's gonna run. You know what?
That's right.
You know what, Bo? You know what though, Bo?
World relations will be good. Got that peace pipe going.
Hey, look, man. Hey, I'll be honest with you. Hey, with everything, and we're not a political show. I'm just trying to tell you, hey, with everything that's going on in this world, I'm always up for a new direction.
Hey, based on everything that's going on around the world, they need some dark rooms.
As long as you don't have to put a quarter in it to make it operate. And
there's you know, it's all right. It'll only cost all of us, so it'll be fine.
Oh, sweet Jesus! What a time to be alive. Where's Pags when you need? Where's Pags at these days? He must.
He's down there.
You think?
Yeah, he's down there enjoying a baseball game today, I believe. And Stat Guy, I believe, is out there at a basketball game. So
yeah, that guy's all over the place today. He is. That guy covers a lot, I'll tell you. He everything from high school to AC. You know, he does a lot of FCS. He does like a lot of FCS work and spring training and high school games. I mean, that guy literally is all over the place. You know, and I never really understood how good some of these FCS schools are. I mean, you know, you're never really going to know how good an FCS athlete is because, you know, they're not going against FBS, which is a little bit higher or whatever. But I think there's a lot of hidden gems from what he's been showing me. There's a lot of hidden gems in that FCS world. You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's interesting stuff to me.
So tomorrow's the big day, huh? You get the RoboCop knee.
Man, yes, sir. I am going to do these baby wipes for the 3rd time in my life. And you know what? It's horrible. No, it's horrible. It's horrible.
You throw them in the freezer.
These things are like ice cold, bro. They're ice cold. Like it's the kind of stuff that makes you say to yourself, or to your wife, because my wife, because you got to do the back side, the front side. So my wife is helping me out and do this, so I get every answer because they want you to get every. And I tell my wife all the time, I said, "Baby, I'm a grower, not a shower, but this stuff's ridiculous."
It's an innie.
I'm just saying it'll give you a reverse turtle, okay?
Yep.
But no, it's terrible. It's cold, Bo. It's like, I don't know. I'm gonna say it's like 10 degrees, but it feels like somebody's got these ice and they're just giving you a bath in ice. Anyway, I say that to say this. I told that lady, I said, I will come back, I will do this again, but I swear to God, if you screw this up one more time, somebody's gonna have some problems, and it ain't gonna be me.
100% will be you. What are you talking about?
Do you think it's a bad idea that I started looking online for surgical instruments just to bring my own shit?
That would be hilarious.
I seriously thought about going online. I said, you know what, babe? I think we have better chances of my survivability and a successful operation if I just buy my own shit.
Yeah, I mean, are these the Temu doctors? Is this what's going on? This is your medical team?
Hey, look, there is nothing freaking wrong with Temu. Half of my house is made with Temu.
Yeah, but how much do you rely on it to really work?
I don't know, bro. I'll let you know in about 4 months when I assemble this crap and put it up there.
Yeah, no doubt.
Hey, watch this, bro. Watch it. You know what the funniest thing is? So now I don't put Temu throughout my house. I really don't, okay?
Sure.
But for like the guest bedrooms, I did. And I'm going to tell you why, Bo. I had this process or this mental thought process that says guests are like fish. After 3 days, they start to smell. So I don't want them to have the best of everything. I want them to have just good enough that they'll stay, but then in 3 days, they're ready to go. That's what I want. That's perfect. It's perfect. So I put the Temu stuff in there, right? Now, Bo, listen to me. Now. Listen, I'm a side shift. No, this is it. Okay. I'm gonna move out of the way, and then you're gonna see the width of this box. These are beds, Bo. Watch this. Watch. Here we go.
They're beds. Okay.
Now listen to me now.
So is that the frame? Is that the frame or the mattress?
Oh, it's the frame.
Okay.
Just stay with me now. So that's the frame. So you see how skinny the box is, right?
Sure.
So
Lots
you know
of
you're not
assembly.
getting a whole hell a lot out of that box. It's gonna be nice. It'll be nice. It's on the picture, look real nice. But we're not talking Taj Mahal nice. We're talking good enough.
Sure.
3 days, you're out, right? Full-size beds, all right? Nice bed, nice mattress, but not too nice.
That's right.
Because that's where I put the $10,000 in my own personal bed, Bo.
No,
That's
of course. Of
Yeah,
course.
I have a thing about this house. Look, we're an empty nest. It's just me and the wife, Bo. Just me and the wife. And we got 5 minutes left. So I'm going to say like that. For everybody that's out there, look, this is how you do your house. This is why I feel like you should do your house. You put your money in your furniture on the common areas and your personal room. But when it comes to your spare bedrooms, give them the cheap crap because they'll be out of your house in 3 days. No, seriously. In 3 days, they will be out of your house and you don't even have to ask them to leave. They're ready to leave. And it makes everything less awkward. It makes everything less awkward.
No, it's funny because that's how I used to do the waiting room for my automotive shop, because it's technically a waiting room. The thing is I don't actually want you to wait, right? So, so it would be comfortable, but after about 20 minutes, you're like, this couch isn't that great. Like, it's fine, whatever. But then it would be like, okay, why don't you go for a walk or go do something? Because as much as I loved my clients, I had some of the best clients. The thing is if they were there, they wanted to talk to me, which made it harder for me to actually do the job. Right. So, so it's like, hey, yeah, you can wait if you want. And then I'd start working. And, I had to get to the point where I'm like, hey, I can't have you guys in the shop. It's a liability issue, which is, that part of it's actually very true. That's an insurance issue. It is what it is. But the thing is like, if you were working on closing paperwork out or something like that, they want to talk to you, and it does make you less efficient, even if you are good at multitasking. So I always made the waiting room aesthetically pleasing, comfortable enough, but not comfortable enough you wanted to hang out all day.
Ain't that the damn truth? And on that note, Mr. Bobo, I got to get to my appointment, and
Yes, sir.
I will see you not on Thursday. I'm gonna try to see you by Friday or Saturday. No, Monday. I think most likely, Bo. I'll be back on Monday.
It's going to be Monday. Take that extra day.
I got to
Get
feel
rested
pain
up.
medications are going to be crazy off the chart if they even remember how much to give me.
So if they are crazy off the charts, definitely call in.
Bo, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. There's dots and shit.
Why are you purple? Right on, my man. Well,
I'm out, bro.
Have a safe one, man. We'll see you on Monday.
Right, that'll be good.
Yep. Take it easy, bud. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in today. We are going to go ahead and close it out as well. Unfortunately, Kory was hung up with his agent, and so hopefully we'll get him on a different day. Thanks for hanging out with us. And other than that, we will see you bright and early tomorrow, and enjoy the rest of your day.